Welcome in. It's our Wednesday edition of On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio. And real quick, want to give a shout out to our sponsors as we got a big show. As we said, we're going to start doing the Hall Guy segment and bringing you closer to the top prospects at the University of Arkansas. Is putting his best foot forward. And today we got, like I said, we got a huge show. But first, we want to give a shout out to all of our sponsors, as this would not be possible. With that being said, Lindsay and Associates, with an office location in Fayetteville and office location also too in Rogers. Locomotion, located just below the Northwest Arkansas Mall in Fayetteville. Corey Beck's Custom Painting, and you know the one that I love the most, KDK's Chicken. It's at 989 South Razorback Road. Get on down, see Keith and Kathy, get a plate of that love, and like they say, it's not your mama's. The best chicken and waffles in the South. But want to get today's lineup set up at the 1:15 hour. We're going to have big-time offensive guard prospect, 4-star, out of Bellflower, California, St. John's Bosco, Maximus Gibbs. Big time priority for Coach Brad Davis and staff on the offensive line. He'll be up here momentarily. And then following Big Maximus, we're going to have on Phaizon Wilson. They call him New York. We had a chance, but he wasn't able to come on last week. We caught up with the 2022 wide receiver out of Lancaster, and he'll be on at the 1:30 hour. And to close it out, we're going to go down to Florida and talk to Florida commit, but another major Arkansas prospect, defensive tackle Chris Thomas Jr. We'll find out what he has to say about the University of Arkansas at the 1:45 hour. But real quick, I want to go over to my producer, co-host, the man behind all the madness, Demetrius Johnson. What's up, my man?
Not much, can't complain. Glad to see another day.
Big show today. A lot of major prospects that we're going to have on today. And, Demetrius, when you look at it, throughout the last week and a half, we've been on the lines of scrimmage. We all know that in the SEC, that's what, that's the main thing. It's a line of scrimmage league. By all of accounts, do you think Coach Pittman and that staff are heading in the right direction and really starting to, zero in on some guys that are difference makers on both sides of the football on the lines of scrimmage?
Oh, absolutely. What do you expect with Sam Pittman being the best recruiter and offensive line coach in the nation? I think that is self-explanatory with the type of talent and caliber that you're going to see come to Arkansas versus what you saw in the past.
Well, you know what? Let's get this thing going. Let's don't wait any longer. Let's take a quick break, and then let's get on out to Bellflower, California, where we're going to catch up with the big man, Maximus Gibbs from St. John's Bosco. He's up next. It's On the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479. Let's get it.
Answers that they want. So,
like coaches, anybody in the country, because he's been offered a bunch. He's been offered some since he's been here, but most of the time, good O-line coaches are good coaches. Most of the time, they're good recruiters. They're good communicators, and a guy that's a good recruiter usually becomes a pretty good football coach because he's got better talent than everybody else. And so that's the one thing about Brad. He's one of them guys that means a lot to. That he's a people pleaser. He wants to please whoever he's working with, and he wants these kids to be as good as they possibly can be. And it's kind of a thing inside. It's kind of in the makeup of who he is. And I really think I think he's as coach as there is.
And then Jimmy Smith, I know he's a Georgia high school coach for a long time. How long have you known him, and why was he at it?
Jimmy, I've known for 5 years. Jimmy is exactly what we needed at running back, coach. No nonsense guy, but a guy that can to his players, exceptional recruiter. And I needed a guy to recruit Georgia, and Jimmy was the first guy that came to mind when I was in the hiring process. I needed a running back coach, and I also needed a great recruiter, and I've been as pleased as you possibly can be with the way he's handled his room. They respect him. He knows what he's talking about. He was athletic director at his school as well. So he understands how to handle people. And this is an exceptional football coach, and his future's bright, bright, bright. But I've known him for 5 years, and we wanted to hire him when I was at Georgia, just wasn't able to because we didn't have a full-time job there. But he did. He interviewed there, and he was outstanding in that interview. And like I say, I've known him, known his character, known what he's about for 5 years, and I'm really, really glad that we were able to hire him here.
You mentioned Dorian Gerald. He was a guy obviously had a health scare at the start of last season. How is he physically cleared for everything, and how's he doing, and how big a piece could he be in the rebuilding process, this coming season?
Yeah, Dorian is cleared. He is getting in much better shape. I've had one-on-one conversations with him about what we need him to do. He's a guy that could be a strong leader for us. Kids look up to him. He's getting his quickness back. He's getting stronger. I really like the kid. I think he's smart. Good guy to have in that D-line room. So, yeah, I think you're 100% right. I think he's a guy that could be a heck of a leader for us as well.
One more, if you don't mind. I know you're a people person, like you said, but, the video of you walking around the hog pen, I saw that the other day. I guess you're looking for a hot dog or whatever. But, being the way you are, how are you handling this whole social distancing thing and sort of having to be careful,
Well, I'll be honest with you, it did run across my mind, but to be honest, about the time that we started talking about the virus is whenever the public became educated with it as well. And, now I think, everybody wanted to be friendly and all. They're still friendly, but they're not as close friendly. And so I think they're looking at me like, hey, this dude's touched a lot of guys. I'm not sure I want to touch him either, So now it's kind of gone to, I think everybody pretty much understands, let's keep a little bit of a distance. And, of course, now with the restaurants and different things, I don't go out as much as I did simply because of that. Not because of the people, but because of the virus. Trying to be educated and be smart myself. And but I do miss that part of it because I enjoy being around people. I enjoy that they want to meet me and things of that nature. It's an honor. So I enjoy that part of it, as you well know. But
Welcome in. It's our Wednesday edition of On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio here on KDSJ 479. We come to you live each and every day, Monday through Friday from 1 to 2 p.m. And, Arkansas and Coach Sam Pittman and Brad Davis, they understand in the SEC it's a line of scrimmage league. So what better way than to go out and try to attract some of the nation's elite offensive linemen? So we thought we'd go to Bellflower California, where we caught up with one of their main big-time targets and 4-star offensive guard prospect from St. John's Bosco High School, Maximus the Pancake Gibbs. Welcome in.
Man, thank you.
You know why I call you
Thanks for having
Pancake?
me.
You know why I call you Pancake, Max? Because when I watched the film, all I saw was pancake after pancake block after pancake block. So that's going to be your nickname. I'm going to call you Big Pancake, if that's okay.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Let's get off into recruiting, Max. You're a high priority. Coming from the high school that you are attended, you guys just recently this past year won the National High School Championship as the #1 high school football program in America. Talk about the recruiting process and how it's going heading into your senior year in the early going.
Man, like the recruiting process has been great. It's just been like all these coaches that like showing me love. Like for example, like USC, Arkansas, or like Alabama, like they're just showing me love. And showing me like family, and then like I can be there, at their home at college for them and play for them. Show me love.
You spoke with Arkansas roughly about a week and a half ago. Coach Brad Davis reached out to you as he's your lead recruiter. Talk about that relationship that's starting to build there at Arkansas with Coach Davis and Coach Pittman, and how do you see that relationship growing going forward?
Man, I see that a relationship going good, man, because I talked to Coach Davis, man. He really likes me, and he sees me going there, and he sees me being like one of their alignment. I really like their relationship. Like, they're really good people.
When you look at this school, obviously, talking to you, Max, it's going to be about academics also. What are you planning to major in when you pick your school of choice and get on that campus? What's going to be your major?
Like, I want to do business. Like be like a CEO, just get like my own business, like my own clothing line, and like business. Like that's what I want to do.
With the coronavirus pandemic breaking out and kind of eliminating spring football for your senior year, and I know you guys around this time like to get out, make unofficial visits. When the pandemic is relieved and we get back to some normalcy, Big Max, where are some places that you plan on getting out to, either unofficial or official, in the future?
I was trying to go to Arkansas this summer, this summer. And then, the coronavirus, messed up all my plans, low key. Like, all my plans for, other schools. But I was trying to look forward to go to Arkansas in the summer. But, me, Coach Sam Pittman, and Coach Davis had, a talk about, me, going there and, having, a visit.
How big is it, Big Max, for to have a coach in Sam Pittman that just came from being the offensive line coach at Georgia and now turned head coach at Arkansas? How big is that as far as your interest in Arkansas to have a head coach that has been a former offensive line coach?
Man, it's really shocking to me because one of the best offensive line coaches, like a whole Hall of Fame, like a whole legend of offensive line. And teaching people how to block and how to be a whole offensive line is wanted me to come to school, and Coach Davis. It's really shocking to me.
When you look at the SEC, with you being out in California, and you look in particular, look at the SEC West, we all know that it's been proven over the last few years that someone out of the SEC West is probably going to make it to the playoffs and then have a really high chance to make it to the national championship game. How enticing would that be to play against some of the elite talent and what people consider the toughest division in all of college football?
That would be amazing. It would show how hard work that I worked. It would show how better that I improved in my game, and how I improved because I'll be playing for the top elite. Because the SEC is really good, big ball, big time ball. You know what I'm talking about?
Right.
Yeah.
What are you working on, Big Max, in the off season to get yourself ready for senior year?
I'm working on to lose more weight. I'm working on to get stronger, get quicker with my feet, and because I've been doing jump rope.
Right.
I've been doing I have my own personal trainer, I just been working.
Looking at
I have
social,
like a diet plan.
looking at social media, we follow each other, and I just see a lot of fan bases reaching out to you, kind of wanting you to, have an extra interest in their school. Big Max, when you look at that, how much does social media impact, or if at all, or do you just have fun with it?
The media and like the fan base, it doesn't impact me because I get used to it because I come from St. John Bosco, like one of the top high school programs in the country, and then like Bosco has like a lot of fan base, like it has like a big fan base. Like it really doesn't like surprise me. It just keeps me like work hard, it keeps me humble and like it keeps me like just grinding.
I want to piggyback off of that, Big Max, because you do play at an elite program there at St. John Bosco. As I mentioned earlier, you guys won the high school national championship this past season as the #1 ranked team. You also had the privilege of blocking for DJ, a young man that went on to Clemson. Man. Talk about, how that helps you with the recruiting process playing at such an elite program there out in California in St. John's Bosco.
Yeah, like St. John Bosco, like it prepared me to play with the elites, play with like the SEC and like the ACCs and all that, like big time school. Like it like prepared me to like go out far and play for like another team. And like DJ, having him like being like a role model and like always seeing like it's like I'm good. It seems like it's like this whole like offensive line is good. Like it's really good though.
Talking with Maximus Gibbs for those that have just tuned in to On the Hill Sports Talk Show out of Bellflower, California, St. John's Bosco High School. Big time prospect for Coach Brad Davis and Sam Pittman and that offensive staff there at Arkansas. Big Max, who are some NFL or NCAA offensive linemen that you like to study throughout the week?
I just be watching Quentin Nelson and David Castro a little bit, and then low key sometimes D linemen. I like watching D linemen a little bit.
See, I like what you say. Low key, we're riding around town. Let's have a little fun, and we're in your vehicle, Big Max. I need to hear 5 songs. The first 5 songs on your playlist. What's the vibe?
Oh man, I mean, I listen to like a little bit of songs. Lil Baby, Emotionally Scarred. I don't know, man. I really don't have a 5 playlist. I just be listening to songs. Like, I'm R&B. I'm a R&B guy.
A well-rounded music guy, huh?
Yeah, I'm really not.
Now, when I come out to Bellflower, I buy my ticket, go to the concession stand, get my popcorn, soda pop, because I'm one that doesn't want any ice in my soda pop. For those that know me, I'm going to the highest spot in the stadium. And that term, let's get it. It's a new term for athletics. What type of football player will I see in Maximus Gibbs for 4 solid quarters when that ball is kicked off?
Can you say that again? I'm sorry.
What type of player will I see when that ball is kicked off for 4 quarters in Maximus Gibbs?
You're gonna get a player that's like hardworking. He's never gonna quit. He's gonna do his assignment, like his assignment, like his blocking. He's not gonna quit. He's gonna try his best and block to the whistle.
Max, tell the listeners something that they may not know that you'd like them to know about Maximus Gibbs.
I'm really humble. I like to prove people wrong. And,
good.
Man. Yeah.
Well,
I'm just quiet too. I'm a little quiet.
Quiet off the field, but there's nothing quiet about your game on that football field, Pancake. I promise you that. Well, we're going to close it out with one. I'm going to make one statement, and you finish it out for me. When football is done with for Maximus Pancake Gibbs, he'll be doing what with the rest of his life afterwards?
Being successful, man. Having my own business.
I like that. Well, Max.
My own clothing. Yeah.
You feel free to call our show each and any time you want to. And, let's do this. Let's try to come back and kind of do a What's Up with Max at least twice a month until the signing day. Yeah, did that sound good?
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right. Well, Big Max, you have a blessed day, my man. I know you're not. I know you're a
You
little
too.
under the weather. I hope you get feeling good.
Yeah.
My prayers are with you. But hey, my man, thanks for taking time out here on OTH.
Hey, man, thank you for having me on the show. I really appreciate it.
Oh, we look forward to having you again, Big Max.
Yeah, all right. I'm going to come back.
All right.
All right, thank you.
That was Big Maximus Gibbs of Bellflower, California. St. John Bosco High School was a big-time part on the offensive line, that big offensive line that so many people raved about this year there at St. John Bosco. Big Max was one of the bell cows, and when I got to go over to my analyst because he analyzes all tape. Demetrius, what jumped out to you about Big Max?
I think you said it, Pancake. That's his middle name. I'm going to stick with it. I mean, that was the best description. And that was a lot of the moments of his highlights.
That's all you see, wasn't it? His
was
pancake.
Standing
Pancake.
over somebody looking down like, what's up? What you going to do? So he definitely earned that title of Pancake.
Well, we're going to step away, and then we're going to continue with the Hall guys because they're watching. We're going to Lancaster, Texas, where we're going to catch up with Phaizon Wilson. They call him New York, and we'll let him tell you how that name came about. All that's up next. It's On the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479. Back in a bit.
I'm trying to be smart about it as well.
Okay, I'm good. Thanks, Sam.
Thank you.
Nikki.
Coach, I was wondering, for spring break, have you advised the players to just stay home even if they had maybe some travel plans? And then also, on the guys that you mentioned that were injured, I think it was Wagner, Clary, Hayden Henry, and Bumper Pool. Just could you refresh us on what those injuries are and what their timeline is for recovery?
Oh, man. What first part of that, Nikki?
It was spring break, and if you have told the guys to not go anywhere.
Yeah. What we said on spring break was that, we felt like we needed to get all our players out of the dormitories if we could, just simply because we didn't know if they were going to close it down or not. Ironically, when we asked them, we only had one kid that was going to stay there, and he's since left and went to Texas. But our advice really was that they need to go to the safest place they can go to. So if the Arkansas is the safest place they can go, well, then stay here. And, there's highly populated cities that obviously have the virus more than we do here. And so we just advise them to be safe. And we didn't say go home. We said, be safe. And if home is as safe as here, then that's probably a good place to be. And on the other thing, Bumper, he had a back surgery, and he's progressing well. I think he'll be ready I know he'll be ready by the time the season started. Hayden Henry had a shoulder, and he's progressing well. Let's see. Who'd you say? Gatlin. Gatlin had a knee.
It was Wagner and Clary, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Gatlin had a knee. Wagner, he's had a shoulder, and he's progressing well too. He's done, modified weights, but all the running, all the conditioning, and we feel like he'll be ready by the fall. And then Ty Clary, he also had a shoulder. All those were labrums, I guess, and so he's progressing. He's getting walked through reps. Our situation with those guys you just asked about, Nikki, was we were going to have them in walkthroughs and things of that nature, non-contact things, condition them at different positions, at different points in time of the practice when the coach.
Welcome back to On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio here on KDSJ 479. We come to you each and every day from 1 to 2 p.m. But real quick, I want to give a shout out to our sponsors, as this would not be possible. Lindsay and Associates, Locomotion, Corey Beck's Custom Painting, and KDK's Chicken. Make sure you get on down and get a plate of that love. Meet me there, beat me there, because I'm heading there as soon as I get done. But Arkansas and Coach Sam Pittman felt like they were a little bit behind in the 2022 class as far as offers went out. But last week and weeks prior, they hit it real hard. And there's one in particular in the Longhorn State that catches Coach Stepp and that staff's eyes. With that being said, we're going to head down to Lancaster High School, where we're going to catch up with 2022 big-time wide receiver prospect Phaizon Wilson. P-Dub, welcome to the Hill, my man.
Appreciate it.
Phaizon, let's talk about the recruiting process. You're going into your junior season, but yet one of the more sought-after juniors in the state of Texas. How has the recruiting process gone so early for you?
Well, the recruiting process started I had like 2-3 offers, small offers at first, and then I got my first big one. That was Florida, and then after that, offers like my recruiters started going fast. Everybody wanted to talk to me or talk to my coaches. Everyone wanted to offer, or they wanted me to come up there. So everything was like a fast process. It just started off with like next day. Called me to the library. I got an offer. It was starting to be like a rotation. Right? The next day, I felt like I knew I was going to get an offer. So when somebody would come up to me, I know you're going to get an offer today, something like that. But yeah, the process was fun and all that. It's still going, but we on lockdown, so it ain't going as fast as possible. But they're there.
Arkansas came out with their offer not too long ago. Talk about that relationship with Arkansas, and what is it about Arkansas that makes you so interested in this program so early in the recruiting process?
But first, it was just athletics. I'm just thinking they're coming to look at us, see what we're gonna look like this year. They're gonna recruit who they want to look at. Me. Everybody else is looking into that, but I didn't think I was gonna get no offer that day. I'm thinking, they just probably come look at me. They'll offer me another time, or they want to talk to me. So it really surprised me. So I came out of athletics. I just came back. He wanted to talk to me. He was like, because my head coach, Coach Harris, he be talking about getting on track. So
right.
we be talking about that getting on track. I started talking to Coach. He was like, man, I like you, but you need to get on that track. And I was like, I got you. I don't like it, but I get on it.
Phaizon, you have a nickname, New York. Where did that originate from? Could you tell the listeners how that came about?
Yeah, that originated from Rochester, New York, 585, hometown. That's where I'm from. So when I first came down here, 6th grade, that's what they called me. New York. They didn't say my name at all. It wasn't no Phaizon, wasn't no Faye. It was New York. Then everybody started. I hit like 8th grade, 9th grade. That's when they started calling me by my name. And I still get the New York from here and there.
You also called Showtime. I saw that as well, but
yeah, Showtime was a new one. Oh. I came up with that when I put it in my Twitter. I used that. But my friends called me. For some reason, my friends called me Chopper, and it just stuck. It just stuck with me now because that's all they do is Chopper.
Awesome. So when I come to Lancaster High School, I buy Coke and popcorn, get soda pop, no ice, go to the top of the bleacher. What type of wide receiver and player will I see in Phaizon, New York, Wilson for those 4 quarters once that ball is kicked off?
Some people don't know, and some people haven't really watched me that much, but I'm different now. Like, you gonna see 6'4", 205 receiver who can run routes, aggressive. I'm gonna get in your face either way you like it or not.
I like
I'm
that.
gonna tell you can guard me. I'm gonna tell you can't guard me. Especially if you're my teammate, I'm gonna do it to make you mad so you can get better. You're gonna want to compete with me. So you're just gonna have to hate me for that day of practice or something. We'll be that cool later.
Talking with Phaizon New York Wilson from Lancaster High School in Lancaster, Texas. Big time 22 wide receiver prospect for the Arkansas Razorbacks. Phaizon, who are some NFL or NCAA wideouts that you like to watch? Kind of take what they do and implement it on your games on Friday night.
Well, I like to watch like Julio. That's built off my size. Then I look at like AJ Green, like hand-wise.
You picking some good ones.
Route running. I look at like, I ain't gonna run it like smaller guys, but I can move my feet. So I look at like Devontae Adams, DeAndre Hopkins, or Odell.
Sweet. All right, now let's have a little fun.
And then DK coming up, so I'm starting to look at him like more aggressively in the air.
Right. Good deal. Well, let's have a little fun with this, Phaizon. Okay. We're riding around in your vehicle there in Lancaster, Texas, and we're going to have 5 songs on your playlist. I need to hear 5 songs. What are the first 5 songs I'm going to hear if I'm riding around vibing with Phaizon Wilson?
Oh, you said first 5 songs?
Yes, first 5's on the playlist. What will they be?
1, Lil Baby, No Sucker. 2, probably Meek Mill, Dreams and Nightmares. 3, Chief Keef Netta. NBA Youngboy, Never Broke Again. 5, probably one of the Lil Uzi songs that just came out. I'm going to go hard.
Look at you. I didn't say my nephew, he's down there in Texas, and he's a junior as well at Carrollton Creekview. So he kind of hips me up to some of the new songs that is being played nowadays. But let's finish it out. And I want to thank you for taking time out. But I'm going to make a statement, and I want you to finish the statement for me. When football is over with and done for Phaizon New York Wilson, he'll be doing what with his life afterwards?
When football is done, like period, when I'm done with football?
Yeah, when it's all said and done and you've hung up the cleats, you'll be doing what afterwards with life after football?
First, I want to give back. So I want to like do coaching here and there. I want to probably invest in some schools and stuff like that.
Good point. Good.
And then get my money right and, help like the homeless, or try to get school for them, put some clothes on them, something like that.
That's awesome, my man. Well, Phaizon, from this conversation and conversations I've had with you, leading up to today, I'm really impressed with you, young man. And feel free to call our show. Join us anytime you want. You know the line, and we're always going to be here for you. But, Phaizon, you have a great day, my man, and thanks for taking time out here on OTH.
Appreciate it.
All right. That was Phaizon New York Wilson from Lancaster, Texas, Lancaster High School. Big time 2022 4-star wide receiver prospect. Coach Stepp and staff are putting a high priority on Phaizon to get him to hopefully at 6'4", 205, Demetrius. Talk about that. Arkansas continues to get bigger and bigger at the wide receiver, don't you think?
Yeah, that's the thing about it. It's the SEC, so you got to be big, fast, and physical, and I think those are the prototypical NFL receivers that you see. If you're not running, 4.3, sub 40, blazing speed, the shortest receiver you're probably seeing nowadays maybe 6 foot. You have those sprinkles here and there where you have shorter guys, but they have elite speed. So to me, that's the prototypical NFL receiver around that 6'4", 205 to anywhere from 205 to 225. That's what you're seeing really come to the light of a receiver in the NFL.
Yeah, those kids are freaks. But we're going to go to Florida, Fort Myers, Florida, Dunbar High School, where we're about to continue with the Hall guys. We're going to catch up with Chris Thomas Jr. and find out what he has to say of where the Hogs sit. All that's up next. It's On the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479. Let's get it.
that learning wasn't as valuable as the conditioning, and then whenever we felt like learning was more valuable than conditioning, they were going to be with the team, but they were going to be in every walkthrough that we had. We don't see anybody on our team that won't be ready at least by August 1st.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Hayden, do you have anything?
Hey, Coach, how are you? Yeah, you kind of touched on this a little bit, but just that young wide receiver core you got, you mentioned Burks a little bit, but Knox, and then I know you've been praising Mike Woods a lot. Just how are those guys developing and kind of getting used to you, and just what have you thought about the receivers so far?
Well, I think the first thing about that group is their coach is back, with Steph, so that probably made their transition a little bit easier for them. And then Kendall Browse is a very personable guy that he knows how valuable this group is to us. And so they worked really hard. I like WR Warren in that group too. He's done a nice job with Morris and Cortland Jackson. Those are probably right now the top 6 kids that we have at that position. I've already mentioned Knox, Burks, and Woods, but those are probably the top 6 guys we have at that position, and really don't have much coming in from this freshman class because Darian Turner's already here, and he's doing a nice job, but it'll take a little bit for him probably to adjust. But those 6 guys have done a good job. They work hard. They got a lot of pride in that room. And they've got a lot of publicity. They got a lot to live up to, and they know it.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate it.
Richard.
Hey, Coach. How have you guys adjusted to the dead period, knowing that you don't know when the dead period's over?
Woo! Well, all we know how to do is just go to work, so we have a plan of every day of what we're going to do, and we know a bunch of it, Richard, is recruiting. We know a bunch of it is staying in touch with our players. We have to make sure that they're working out. We have to make sure that they stay eligible and they're doing well in school. So we have a lot of work that we can do. The difference is we just can't see them face to face in person. And but really, we're trying to keep as much routine, daily things as what we would have a 7:30 meeting and say, this is what we have to get accomplished today. The difference is there's no ball right now. You can't talk video stuff with them right now. I think they're trying to look into it.
Welcome back to our Wednesday edition of On the Hill Sports Talk Radio, brought to you here on KDSJ 479 from 1 to 2 p.m. And we're going to continue on with our Hall Guys segment as Arkansas is trying to get their brand out there, not only locally, but on the national scene. So we thought we'd go down to Fort Myers, Florida, Dunbar High School, where we're going to catch up with 4-star defensive tackle and, at the moment, Florida commit and a major Arkansas prospect, Chris Thomas Jr. CT, welcome to OTH, my man.
Sir?
Let's get off into the recruiting process. Chris, you're at the moment committed to Florida. Talk about, how that's going. I mean, and you're committed, but talk about some of the schools that have still yet, pursued you even with this being a Florida commitment.
Yeah, I talked to Florida State, LSU, Georgia, Texas A&M, Arkansas, UCF, Miami, FAU, and a plethora of other schools. So they're recruiting me pretty hard.
When you talk about Arkansas, Coach Derek LeBlanc, defensive line coach, is your lead recruiter. Talk about that relationship. And I know you've had a few conversations with Coach Derek. What's been the conversations like that he's told you in regards to Arkansas?
it was more so talks of, life outside of football, such as my future and, just me becoming a man as a whole instead of just football.
Now, you recently went to school at Tallahassee, transferred to Fort Myers, Dunbar High School. Talk about that transition and playing in the league that you play in. How does that prepare you for the next level, which will be Power 5 football for you here in the coming months and going forward?
The move, it wasn't the transfer, and the move, it wasn't as hard as I think it'd be because Fort Myers is kind of like my second home. I got family down here. I've always visited down here, and I feel like just me moving down to Fort Myers, it'll get me prepared for the league. Being coached by guys who have been to college.
Right.
My offensive line coach, he's been to the league before. You know how that is. Our strength and conditioning coach, he's been to college. He's, strength and condition everybody else, and he's seen them go to the league. So I feel like if those guys can make it, I can make it too. So all I got to do is just listen to them.
Now, you have a little basketball in your background. I was watching your Twitter page, and there's a clip on there that you go up and, emphatically dunk the basketball, at 6'6", 300, 305. Eric, Chris, that's pretty impressive. You also told me you do a little 7-on-7 as well. Talk about your athletic ability, and where does that come from with a man of your size being able to move like you do?
I feel like my athletic ability, it comes from me, when I was a real small child back in Wilson Green. It came from me playing with guys who was never my age, me playing with teenagers, and I'm only 8 years old because growing up, I never really played with kids my age because of my size. And it comes from, it's in my roots, it's in my blood, me being related to the Curse family, Javon Curse, Sammy Watkins. So I feel like that's where that comes from.
When you look at your senior year, I know you can't go through spring ball as the COVID pandemic has really slowed that process up. What are you doing outside? You can't go to any gyms. Everything's pretty much on lock. How do you get yourself ready and prepared for your senior year, Chris?
I just been doing workouts that I've been doing my freshman year when I was underrated and overlooked, just doing push-ups around the house, ladder drills in the backyard, burpees, even jumping jacks, which may sound a little silly, but, it got me this far, so I do those.
Now, you have, I believe, ties to Arkansas. I think you have family members that grew up in the area. Do you know the area? And, with that being said, those family members with those Arkansas ties, did they kind of perk up once they found out you had that offer from Arkansas?
No, not really. They wasn't really worried about it. My family, they're not one of those guys that pushed me onto the college that they want me to go to. They're more so of a, go where it's best fit for me and go where my heart tell me to go. So.
Now, with you being a basketball player, a two-sport athlete, how does that help you? I know Coach Pittman has a history, and Coach Davis, they both have history, and Coach LeBlanc of recruiting two-sport athletes. I think that goes a little bit better, in particular offensive and defensive players. How does that help you, Chris, on the defensive line versus other offensive linemen?
I feel like I'm more athletic than the guy that's in front of me. I feel like I can play 4 quarters better than he can. I can do more stuff that he can instead of getting, more fatigued. I'm rarely tired. I'm more conditioned than him. I can do stuff better than him. I can run from sideline to sideline. And some of my highlight plays I have where they score a screen to the other sideline, and I'm right there to make the tackle.
Right.
So.
Big Chris, what are you working on? I know you're really good in the run game, but what are some of the things that you're going to work on in the offseason to prepare for what you hope and what many hopes to be a very, very productive senior year?
I feel like, from me watching my highlights and me just watching the whole game, I feel like if I just get stronger and I work on my pad level, I feel like I'll be unstoppable.
Talking with Chris Thomas Jr. of Fort Myers, Florida, Dunbar High School, big-time 2021 target for the University of Arkansas, and at the moment a Florida commit. Let's talk about schools, and do you have any schools once this COVID pandemic is lifted? Do you know you're a Florida commit, but are there any other schools that you plan on getting out to visit unofficially or officially? Have you got any of those in mind, Chris?
I don't necessarily know what schools I'll go to. I can't necessarily make a promise. I haven't really got a green light to do anything like that. But I know for sure I'll take that official visit to Florida. I know that for a fact.
Now, let's have a little fun. And we're riding around Fort Myers, Florida. We're just, vibing, Chris. And I say, man, what's on your playlist? Give me your first 5 songs that we're going to hear on that playlist.
Oh, I got to listen to No Flocking by Kodak. Got to listen to that. Got to listen to that Fourth Quarter by Kodak. When I'm down here in Fort Myers, I got to listen to Bad Talk by C Stunner. I got to listen to my cousin Buddha Youngin called No Love Lost. And then I got to listen to Misunderstood by Rod Wave. So all Florida rappers when I'm riding.
Hey, my producer said Rod Wave was going to come up because he's a Rod Wave guy. He makes his own beats and does a lot of production when we're not in the show. He produces a lot of singers and rappers in there. So he's very familiar about the kids that you're talking about. Let's continue this on, Chris. Who are some defensive players either in the NFL or NCAA that play on that defensive line that you like to watch?
I like to watch guys like Khalil Mack. That's one of them guys like Warren Sapp. And it was another player I love to watch him. I just forgot what his name was. He was one of those shorter, overlooked guys who had to work his way. I think he's a Hall of Famer. He played defensive tackle for the Vikings. Oh yeah, John Randall.
John Randall.
I love to watch John Randall. A guy who doesn't really talk off the field, but once he's on the field, he's one of those guys that you look at, think there's something wrong with him. So that's why I kind of get my game from. And I like to watch my dad because when I was younger, I used to try to model my game after his. But I feel like I can't really be compared to nobody.
Good.
Because I'm not one of those guys who's always talking. I feel like I'm cut from a different fabric. I'm kind of one of a kind. So.
I'm coming to Fort Myers. I just bought my popcorn, got my soda pop, no ice, went to the top bleacher. And there's a term that we start to use in the in sports, and that's called "let's get it." When it's time to let's get it, and that ball is kicked off, what type of football player will I see for 4 quarters and Chris Thomas Jr.?
You're gonna see a football player who you've never seen. I'm one of those guys, who's pretty confident. I'm cocky, if you will, but I know when I'm talking, I'm always going to be able to back it up. So you're going to see a guy who you've never seen before.
Well, and lastly, Chris, I'm going to make a statement, and I want to thank you for taking time out here today on OTH. When football is done with, for Chris Thomas Jr., he'll be doing what with his life afterwards?
You're going to see me, giving back to the community, going back and forth to Tallahassee and Fort Myers. You're going to watch me do camps for everybody. You're going to watch me doing foundations for kids because all those kids that's going to be on the come up who's not going to know when their next meal is, when they see their parents struggling, when their grades are bad, when they're being overlooked, overrated, picked on. I want to show them that I was one of those guys and, it's going to be better days for them.
Well, my man, with that answer, there is absolutely no doubt that you're going to be a very successful young man, both on and off the field. And I can't wait to continue to cover you. Chris, be sure and keep in touch with us. This phone line and this show, hey, you're welcome on it anytime you want. We'll continue to try to get a hold of you maybe once or twice a month and maybe do an update of what's going on with CJ Jr. Hey, does that sound good?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, man, thanks for taking time and, have a blessed day, Chris.
All right, you too. Thank you.
That was Chris Thomas Jr. from Fort Myers, Florida, Dunbar High School, a big-time prospect for the University of Arkansas at that defensive tackle spot. He's committed to Florida. And when you look at just his body makeup, Demetrius, at 6'6", I believe 300 pounds, the guy plays 7-on-7. What does that tell you about just his athletic ability?
To me, that's the type of athletes you get from that area. I know a lot of Florida kids, or I should say young men that come from that area. They just he
Eric LeBlanc, defensive line coach.
To me, he fits the area that he's from. You can tell he has the confidence. You can tell that he comes from a background where football is very important, with the way he was talking about his coaches and the experience that he's been taught. So I think he's got a very good upside, even just the confidence out of his voice and the way he spoke about himself. He just seems like a guy that really knows what he wants and willing to put in the work.
And I know, with the way Coach Pittman and Coach LeBlanc and Coach Davis are starting to recruit, I mean, it does mean more, and it is a line of scrimmage league in the SEC. And from all intents and purposes, we've had on a few of the guys, Arkansas is really starting to put that brand out there, and they put coaches in place that these kids really feel comfortable and have a strong belief that if they choose the University of Arkansas, they can be developed both on the field and off the field, become great ball players and even better young men. So, you have to commend, Demetrius, the job that Coach Pittman and his staff are starting to get out, because you notice over the last few days, they've been in the top list of a lot of the nation's elite football players at all positions. So if they can continue that on, expect big things for the University of Arkansas going forward. And want to really, real quick, Terry P. Roy, the guy with all the good questions. I know it's early, but who do y'all see starting at quarterback, and will they stick with Warren, or will they do the rotating like the last 2 years? I think they're going to stick with one. The thing that I notice about this staff is Kendall Briles and that whole offensive staff, Coach Sam Pittman, Jimmy Smith, Justin Stepp, and Brad Davis, are going to have a plan. Coach Pittman is going to go with one quarterback because I think if you have, 2 or 3, then you don't have one. If you're rotating, then you're going to have a lot of problems going forward. I think you have to just put that one quarterback in and let the offensive personnel adapt to what this quarterback can and cannot do. And I think that's a good thing about Kendall Briles is he's coached enough top quality quarterbacks and had enough talent at when he was at Houston, FAU, Baylor, to understand that with the skill position players that he has, it could be really fun this year. So I think, in my opinion, it's going to be Felipe Franks, Demetrius. What do you think? Do you think they're going to go back and forth like, this previous staff under Coach Morris?
I don't think it'll be back and forth, but I do think it'll be two deep quarterback. I just think with the type of league we have, you have to have 2 quarterbacks and you have to have a second string that's ready. I do think Felipe, from an experience standpoint, does kind of get that nod as, hey, you're going to be our starter going into spring. But and that's another good point, because we don't have spring ball. And it's kind of up in the air as far as what we're going to do for summer ball. I would have to say Felipe Franks is going to be the starter. And probably now that they don't have that as big of a learning curve that they would have had with the spring practices. And I do see Felipe kind of holding the ranks of that quarterback. Right. Like I said, I at least think through the first 4 games. I think those are critical games. I think that's what's going to kind of determine the momentum for the year. So I definitely give him the nod for the first 4 games.
And when you look at this, I mean, Felipe Franks should be the guy expected to be the starter. I know you have a very talented KJ Jefferson coming off a redshirt year and just got big-time 4-star prospect Malik Hornsby. But you're talking about this is a guy, Felipe Franks, Demetrius, that we've seen the past 2 SEC media days, both in Atlanta and in Hoover. And this is a guy that, was coming off of a 10-3 campaign bowl victory over Michigan before he was hurt early in last season's ball games. I think it was the Kentucky game when he went out. So, who knows of just how that would have played out. But Felipe, when we go back to 2018, a lot of people have to realize Heisman Trophy winner Joe Burrow and Felipe Franks pretty much in that 2018 season had the same stats. And I'm not going to say Felipe will turn around and do what Joe did. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm just saying this is a guy that if given the opportunity and the offensive line can, really hold up and be an advantage. I think this Arkansas offense could be, a lot of what it hadn't been the last few years, and that's a very potent, very dynamic and balanced offense. I think that's what Arkansas has to have, to go forward. But we're going to wrap up today's show. We want to give a thank you to our guest of Maximus Gibbs, big-time 2021 offensive guard prospect, 4-star out of Bellflower, California, St. John's Bosco High School, for coming on and just giving us a little insight as to his relationship with Coach Brad Davis and Sam Pittman, and the future going forward of his interest with the Razorbacks. Also to Phaizon New York Wilson from Lancaster, Texas, the big 2022 wide receiver prospect. He told us just how he felt. I like his cockiness, Demetrius. I really like that. And lastly, Christopher Thomas Jr. From Fort Myers, Florida, Dunbar High School. The Florida commit came on, in Arkansas, and Coach LeBlanc, they're trying to get their foot in the door and maybe get him to thinking about another school. We'll just continue to watch that closely. I want to give a shout out to all those for coming on, and my producer, Demetrius Johnson, for being behind the scenes and making things go as smooth as they always do. And also to you all, our viewers and our listeners. Thanks for the great questions, and always thanks for the support. Lastly, we want to thank our sponsors, Lindsay and Associates, with an office location in Fayetteville and also in Rogers. Locomotion, it's located just below the Northwest Arkansas Mall in Fayetteville. Corey Beck's Custom Painting, and lastly, the one that I love, KDK's Chicken. It's down at 989 Razorback Road. Get down there, see Keith and Kathy, get a plate of that love. And like they say, it's not your mama's. The best chicken and waffles in the South. I always say it. Meet me there or beat me there. That's going to do it for today's show. We'll be back tomorrow with more Hall Guys as they don't stop looking. Much more recruiting. That's on the show. But for now, it's On the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479. You guys have a blessed one, and let's get it.